to Better Together, a podcast about the Southern Baptist Convention's cooperative program presented by SBC this week. I'm Lawrence Smith. Those of us of a certain generation think of the next generation as the coming generation, but they're really the now generation. And today's guests see the work God is really doing, how God is really moving through young adults and college students. Shane Pruitt is the National Next Gen Director for the North American Mission Board, and Paul Worcester is the National Collegiate Director for NAMB. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Shane, first of all, talk about, the amazing things God is doing among young people across the country through your ministry.
Yeah, it truly is an amazing work that God's doing, and such an honor to be a part of it. We've been telling people probably the last 5 years of ministry, especially since 2020, we've seen more young people, teenagers, college students, young adults make profession of faith in Jesus and salvation in the last 5 years of ministry compared to my previous 20 years of ministry combined. One thing that Paul and I say a lot and what we've seen is that 2020, the pandemic, didn't really create new problems for a generation. It just poured gasoline on the problems that were already there. So now you got young people coming to the end of themselves at an early age. They realize the world is broken. They realize they're broken. So they're looking for hope. They're looking for answers. They're looking for truth. And that's where we as the church get to come together collectively, cooperatively, come into those conversations and say, listen, you're looking for hope. You're looking for answers. You're looking for truth. You're actually looking for someone, because hope has a name. The answer has a name. The truth has a name. It's the name above every name, Jesus Christ. And we're seeing God do incredible things on middle school campuses, high school campuses, and college and university campuses across the nation.
Yeah. Paul, we often hear occasional reports about revival on this campus or revival on that campus. What is going on college campuses?
Yes, there's so many college campuses right now where we're seeing what I call the sparks of revival. We got to be really careful and wise about just throwing that term revival around, because those of us that have studied it know we got to reserve that. But we're definitely seeing sparks of revival. I think about Baylor. There's multiple college ministries that are baptizing and seeing 100+ people come to Christ. There's this bubbling up of prayer across the campus, and it started with a couple key collegiate leaders uniting together to pray monthly, and then they got the students to pray together, and it just kind of created this trickle down of prayer. It's like one of the most saturated prayer campuses that I know.
Yeah.
And now evangelism, as prayer elevated, so did evangelism, and just it's changed the whole culture of that campus. Even though it does have some Christian, it's kind of a Christian school, it's just we've seen that revival. I would call that one close to a revival on that campus.
You just spoke some very wise words a moment ago, and we got to be careful about using the term revival, because not every emotional response that may be happening on a campus is truly a revival, but things are happening.
Yes.
I would add that there are multiple ministries, church-based collegiate ministries, or BCMs, campus-based collegiate ministries, that saw 100+ salvations just this school year. A buddy of mine were talking, and we were like listing off the ministries that saw that, and we just kept going on and on and on. There's all across the nation, there's sparks of revival of just 50 to 100 students coming to Christ. It's almost becoming the norm.
Yeah, and I love that, Paul. You pointed it out, and you kind of reinforced that. Is people ask me a lot of times is like, oh, what's happening on college campuses and with teenagers, college students, young adults? Do we call that revival? Do we call it spiritual awakening? Do we just call it church growth? And I tell people, honestly, I don't know what to call it. I know the Lord is up to something, and I want to be a part of it, and I definitely don't want to get in the way of it.
So how does the cooperative program fuel that work?
Absolutely. When you think of Generation Z, those that are currently high school students, college students, young adults, into the mid-20s, there's currently 72 million of them in the United States. It's a massive generation. So that means that's a massive mission field. No matter how great one church is doing, no matter how great one college ministry is doing, no single church or single college ministry can reach all 72 million.
Right.
But us coming together as the church cooperatively can. And when the cooperative program encourages and brings churches together to bring resources together, to bring cooperative effort together, then we get to do incredible things like reach the lost with the gospel of Jesus Christ and mobilize the church to do that. We get to equip next gen leaders. That's one of the things that Paul and I do. We do coaching for youth pastors and college pastors and collegiate leaders and on-campus missionaries. We get to create resources. So when churches come together through the cooperative program, we really are better together than we are separate to go after a generation that's desperate for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah.
You're both among young Christian leaders a lot. Do you see a desire in them to continue the cooperative work?
Yeah, that's a good
Yes,
question.
I do. I see that they want to be part of a movement that's bigger than just what's happening locally. And so I think we have to communicate the value of the cooperative program, and we've got to do the hard work of to a fresh batch of leaders sharing the why behind what we do. And when we do, we remind them, man, the Southern Baptist Convention is one of the biggest movements of God that this nation has seen when you really think about it. And so helping them understand that if they're part of a Baptist church, they're already part of a really significant movement of God.
Absolutely. And I love that, because when you look at Generation Z and then the Alpha generation who's coming up after them, one of the things that we see in that generation is that they are a cause-oriented generation. They want to live out their faith. They want more out of church than, going to potluck dinners. They really want to live out their faith. And really, we get to help them understand, listen, the greatest cause there is the Great Commission of Christ. And I believe one of the best ways to advance the Great Commission is through the cooperative program. So I think for us as leaders, it's our job to educate a generation to go, hey, you care deeply about this. Let's tell you the best way to accomplish that. And I still believe it's through the cooperative program.
So they are motivated by different things that may have motivated an older generation.
Yeah.
I'm a boomer. So the motivations that drive them are different. So how do you then pass the torch from one generation to the other, knowing that?
Yeah, that's a great
question. I mean, they are very passionate about revival, about seeing God move in new places. And so casting that vision, the Great Commission, I still think that is the most powerful motivator for this generation, is when they really catch a heart for the Great Commission of reaching all nations with the gospel. That drives and makes everything else more healthy. And so we're seeing young adults, college students, and youth just catch that vision of reaching their peers for Christ, but also reaching this nation and the nations with the gospel. And when they get that God-sized vision, it just kind of propels them forward.
Yeah, and I would say empowerment as well, while they're young. A lot of times we'll tell young people they're the future of the church, the future of the church. And you just mentioned that. We believe this, according to the New Testament, if they've been bought by the blood of Jesus, have the Holy Spirit of God, they're not the future of the church. They are the church right now. And it's our job as leaders to do Ephesians 4:12, to equip the saints for the work of ministry. And sometimes churches, those saints might be 12, or there might be 15 years old, or 18 years old, or 20 years old. And it's our job to equip them for the ministry. And will they make mistakes? Yes. Will they mess up? Yes. Will they run late? Probably. But that's part of the discipleship journey and process. And, one thing I've heard Paul say 1,000 times over, and I believe it as well, is often the most effective person at reaching a college student with the gospel, or the most effective person reaching a teenager with the gospel, is another teenager or college student that has a heart that beats with passion for Jesus, and that same heart is broken over the spiritual lostness of their own generation, so that we empower them. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're saying that these young people are less institution oriented and more cause oriented.
I believe that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I would say to any leader that wants to really see a movement among young people is raise the bar, raise the vision, don't water it down. And then the students, there'll be a small group of students that come up under it and step into that. And then the rest of your students that are part of your church or ministry will want to be a part of it. And so the ministries that we're really seeing fruit and seeing a lot of movement is when you have a high bar, a high vision for lead with vision, not just rules and expectations. Yeah. So that having that Great Commission vision.
Yeah, I love that. We say that a lot. Another thing we kind of joke about, but it's true, is that you really don't have to dumb it down, disciple them up. And I kind of joke a lot, if they can understand algebra, they can handle some doctrine and theology. If they can order a drink at Starbucks, they can handle some doctrine and theology. You got to know Greek and Hebrew to do that. So I just echo what Paul says. The youth ministries and the college ministries we see doing the best is not lowering their expectation, they're raising the bar of expectation. The students are arriving at that.
So given all you've just said, look ahead 20 to 25 years, what do you see when you look at the future, the possible future of our cooperative effort?
That's a great question. And I really have a heart for our leaders. And that's why Shane and I started these coaching networks.
Yes.
He leads a youth leader coaching network. We have a collegiate coaching network. And the first and most important thing is helping these leaders develop a vibrant prayer life. And if they're leading on empty, so to speak, and they're not really connected with God in an intimate way, it's going to be hard for them to lead out of the overflow of what God's doing.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is that leaders want to step in and spend real time in prayer, and the students want to follow. The students want to learn how to pray, but it starts with the leaders. It starts with us as leaders, as being disciplined in prayer. And so I do see in 20 years' time, the next generation of leaders really valuing prayer, worship, intimacy with God, and then also evangelism. We're seeing a kind of a renewal of bold evangelism, like 2x2 on campus, just sharing the gospel with strangers. Don't tell the students that kind of evangelism doesn't work anymore, because we're seeing people saved, straight up saved on college campuses from the first conversation.
But do you see them valuing those things in a cooperative effort, doing it together as opposed to individually?
Yeah, I would say, especially with young people, I think for them, they would rather do it together than individually, you know, because a lot of times there might be fear to do those things when you're by yourself, but they get real bold together, you know. And so I think just constantly reminding them, and I think it always goes back to the gospel. It's always a discipleship issue to go, hey, the gospel of Jesus Christ doesn't just save you from things. It does, right? It saves you from sin, saves you from death, saves you from hell, destruction. That's true. But the gospel of Jesus Christ also saves you to some things. Saves you to a family. It saves you to a kingdom. It saves you to a mission. And the way we accomplish that together is cooperatively together. So I think it's just educating, which we call it discipleship. Just helping them understand that.
I'm excited for your ministry, and excited to see what God is doing through the young people in our country. Thank you so much for what you're doing and for being here today.
Well, thank you for your time. I love the conversation. And in any way that Paul and I can help partner with Next Gen leaders, we want to. All of our resources can be found at gensen.org. And then those youth leader coaching networks, the podcasts, so everything that we put together is absolutely free because of the cooperative program giving of so many Southern Baptist churches.
Indeed. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time as we again explore all the reasons why Southern Baptists are truly better together through the cooperative program.